All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, wow. Thank you. All the commies and socialists who have moved into, yeah, I get it. You're having a very, very good day. It is a pleasure to be with you on a Wednesday. This is our show. You can set your watch by it, as long as your watch is about 5 or 6 minutes slow. It is a great...
What?
I know. I'm just saying we don't always start right at the top of the hour is what I'm getting at. I am delighted, though, because Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
And Tony is here.
Thanks, Tony.
And Mo Kelly is stopping through today, and I think he's with us at the beginning of the show. He's a brilliant mind on politics and the law. Both are very much in play. John Rothmann will be here today, bottom of this hour. And an hour two from the lever, one of the brightest lights when it comes to social, cultural, and political commentary, when it comes to dark money, when it comes to the system and how the system has been corrupted and continues to be corrupted, and how the wealthiest class has seized control of America. The great David Sirota joins us in hour two. So there's a lot going on here, and I've left out, it's the planet stupid. Belinda Waymouth joins us in hour two. I don't know how we're going to get this all in, but we've got to get cracking because there is a lot to get to. It was a very big night, and on some level, a referendum, I suppose, on Donald Trump in all of these different races across the country. And again, these were interesting races because this is sort of it's an off-year election. Mo Kelly, come in. You can fill out a little bit of what we're talking about because
Sure.
The reality is that you were looking at races that were not necessarily bellwethers going into these special elections, but because of the mood in America right now and because of the activism in America right now, sort of the situation, you have to look at many of these outcomes as bellwethers, as trend indicators as to what may come.
I looked at it as that, and I also looked at it as a status report, a health report of the Democratic brand. And you will hear Republicans today, they're talking about how, well, the Democrats should have won New Jersey. That's no big surprise. Or, of course, Mamdani won in New York City. That's not anything special. But if anything, if they had lost, that would have been a further indication of the lack of health of the Democratic brand. So if you're a Democrat, you should be very pleased, not over the moon, because it's not determinative of what's going to happen in the midterms, but it was a good night. In other words, you're supposed to win the races you're supposed to win. And that says that the Democratic brand is moving back to health.
It also is how you win it, how overwhelming a win in certain instances there is, and what that might tell you. Before I get into some of the specifics, and I will get into many of the specifics, and I'll share some of Mamdani's speech, we'll share these, if you will, victory speeches from many of these very key races. I did want to mention there was a weird moment and a weird story that floated to the surface in this world of elections, and it comes out of Kentucky. Kim, there was an issue in Kentucky, and the GOP election chief in Kentucky had to make a special announcement. What was that announcement, Kim?
There is no election in the state of Kentucky, was what he said yesterday. He said his office was getting a lot of calls like, there's no one at my polling place, and where's my ballot? And he's like, no, listen, this is why I'm calling. He said, have I mentioned my repeated call for civic education? This, according to the Kentucky Secretary of State, Michael Adams. He said, listen, our election is next year. You cannot vote for the governor of New York. You cannot vote for Prop 50. Those are in other states, and we are not voting in Kentucky today. No.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
Here's the quote. We're getting calls about polls being closed. They are closed because we do not have elections today. Kentucky votes next year. You cannot vote in Kentucky for the mayor of New York or the governor of Virginia. Sorry.
People in Kentucky wanted to vote for Mamdani. Okay, that's where they are
That's
in
funny.
this world of elections. And, I'm going to mention this, Mo, I think, and then I will get into more specifics. The fact that, and Donald Trump has sort of said this, well, the reason that the Democrats did so well is because I wasn't on the ticket. If I were on the ticket, it would have all been different. And on some level, that might be true. I think he is a brand that transcends party loyalty on some level. I mean, he's got a cultish following. Now, I'd suggest that that's eroded. I mean, I think that we've even seen it in these numbers. The Latino community that turned out for Trump, they're not going to turn out for Trump again, clearly, at least in the short term, it would seem. But many minority communities that kind of gravitated to Trump and the change agent message he had, I don't think they're going to be around anymore. But it is true that he does bring, I can just think of these Kentuckians that would have been at the poll had Trump been on the ticket. It does, these off-year elections and special elections are their own kind of breed, aren't they?
They are, but the Trump phenomenon is very specific. And I would say that even though he may not have been on the ballot, he was still involved. And we know that he was involved in the New York City mayoral race. He had something to say about that. We know that he was involved in New Jersey. He was not involved, conspicuously so, in Virginia. But I will say this, because he did make New York such an issue, I believe that's part of the reason why more Democrats came out and supported Mondami.
Fair enough. I mean, I do think on some level it was a referendum on Trump. So please don't misunderstand me, but I think it's just interesting as a brand. Trump does bring people out to the polls, but they're really there for him. And I think there is a degree of low information, singular voters who find themselves in the thrall of this charisma or whatever this is. It's a cultish kind of hope. I don't want to get too into that, but I was just as an aside. This really is, though, I think, a sign that, and I think you said it so well, Mo, that the Trump wasn't on the ballot, is what he said, and Shutdown were two reasons that the Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters, says Donald J. Trump on social media. I think the shutdown didn't help. I'll say that. And so it begins, he says. I think there's a cold slap in the face coming to Donald Trump and MAGA land, and we'll even get to the Supreme Court, where there could be an even colder slap in the face from this concierge court as they talk about tariffs, because the early tea leaves, if you can read them through oral arguments, may not be that positive. You have cautious optimism on this, Mo Kelly?
Look, if we know that the Supreme Court supports anything and anyone, it is, as far as the conservative majority, they are unabashed in their support for Donald Trump. And I think we have mischaracterized the nonpartisanship previous to this moment. We said, well, maybe Amy Coney Barrett is not as much of a conservative or a right-wing hack as we might have said. No. She is that person when it comes to Donald Trump. John, all things Supreme Court, they have trended toward Donald Trump. This is not going to be any different. When you're talking about maybe healthcare, John Roberts, that was an aberration. When you talk about some of the other decisions that don't have to do with Trump, then you get more of a balanced approach. But when it comes to him, it's never been balanced.
Well, yeah, and this is certainly something he squarely has an opinion on. All right, so this backlash against Trump, certainly as played out in New York, is huge. And let's start in New York because, this is such an impressive candidate, a new kind of candidate, an orator, a clear thinker. You can disagree with some of these policies or at least question how the X's and O's will all pencil out. But wow, what an impressive message. It's a working class populist message, sort of Trumpian that way, right? I mean, and with tremendous turnout. Go ahead, play a little bit of Mondami's, this is his acceptance speech or his victory speech.
The working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, Against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
This is critical and key because he's right. They did topple a political dynasty. There has been a dynastic hold on New York politics, as you're well aware, Mo Kelly, and it runs right through Cuomo. So Cuomo was there. The dynasty was on the ticket. Go ahead, Tony.
I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change. A mandate for a new kind of politics. A mandate for a city we can afford. And a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
So this is very good. As I say, it's a populist message. He's a brilliant orator, obviously. I want you to play, if you will, for me, Tony, the ending where he calls out Trump by name. And this is how he sticks the landing, I think, with this call out.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
That's just a brilliant sticking of the landing. And Mamdani just captures so much passion, emotion, and I think politically, the realization, and this is especially true in New York, that there is a billionaire class or a wealthy class that enjoys this flourishing environment. And the reality is many New Yorkers can barely make ends meet. It's such an expensive place that only that class, the wealthy class, is able to participate in this gilded age.
I would say Mamdani, he took a page out of Trump's book, if you pay close attention. He looked at the people who did not have a voice, who were overlooked in the media, who were being marginalized, or at least felt that they were being marginalized, and then lifted them up in the moment. And if you don't understand New York is absolutely a city of immigrants. And to portray it as anything other is to misread the electorate. I believe the Republicans misread the electorate in New York. When you have Mamdani, who won in Staten Island, which is a conservative stronghold, that's telling you that you're not listening to the people of New York City.
He has breakthrough policies, big ideas, and big asks. We'll see what he can get through. But you need big ideas and big asks to cut through the media noise, as he did. And it was clearly big ideas, new ideas, change agent versus, if you will, experience, old ideas, mainstream ideas, anyway, in the Cuomo and even in Sliwa. So, you know, I was amazed that Cuomo was even on the ballot. I mean, he sort of left in shame, but it was kind of the only leftover that could be rewarmed and really represented a mainstream Democrat, even though I understand he wasn't running as such. I was interested in Around the Horn on GMA this morning, how they played it, and they have a couple of specifics here. Well, a quick listen, and then I'll let Mo Kelly go. I know you got stuff to do, but you're really cool to hang out with us for a minute or two. Go ahead, Tony. Sure. Here's a little bit of the reaction this morning.
Our Washington Bureau Chief Rick Klein, our Chief White House Correspondent Mary Bruce. And Rick, let me begin with you. It seems like every time we have an election right now, voters are sending a clear message. We want change.
Yeah, that is the only consistent theme, George. You're exactly right. And the worries and uncertainties that face so many Americans boiled over last night. In Virginia, Democrats won back the governor's office and they picked up seats in the state assembly. 64% of voters there said they were either dissatisfied or downright angry as they went to the polls, frustrated by high prices, the political scene, and so much else. And that number was very similar in New Jersey, where the Democrats bucked history to hold on to the governor's office. Both of these governors-elect are women with national security backgrounds, focused intensely on the cost of living. The candidates in the campaigns in a bunch of different races, they were different, but the through line was Trump. Our poll from the weekend showed that president's approval rating 41%. That is down from where he was at the start of his presidency, heading into this midterm year that is almost certainly going to be a referendum on the president.
And so many of these races that you were just talking about weren't even close, Rick.
Yeah, Robin, that was probably the biggest surprise. We're talking about blowouts coast to coast. Most cases, the polls actually understated Democratic support this time around. In Virginia, it was a 15-point drubbing, even with a popular Republican governor in office and his lieutenant governor running for the office. A similar story in New Jersey. The Republican came within 3 points of winning last time. This year, he lost by 13 points.
And how about here in New York City?
Yeah, this is such a story. Zohran Mamdani making history on numerous fronts. And he did it by getting just about half of the more than 2 million people who cast ballots. That's almost twice the turnout that this city saw just 4 years ago.
That's the huge thing, Mo. You know, the turnout tells you something, right?
I got to get, and I have to make this point. I made it last night, and I kind of made it here. This is where you can say, hey, the No Kings protest meant something. They moved from the symbolic to the substantive. That enthusiasm, I think, carried over into the turnout you saw in New York. People were able to connect the dots and remain engaged. So if the No Kings protest did anything, it served as the lead up, the warm up, if you will, to what we saw last night. Now, can you maintain that momentum a year out? Can you maintain that momentum in places which are not as heavily Democratic? I mean, what we saw in Virginia, that was huge because that's not necessarily a Democratic stronghold, to be sure. But if you can point to anything as a positive result of the No Kings protest, it was last night. I would connect those dots.
That's a really, really good point. I know you've got CNN. I saw you on CNN doing a bunch of stuff elsewhere too. So really appreciate you hanging out with us. I know you're going to be here.
Yep.
Mo will be hosting this show for the remainder of this week and all through next week. So, you know, just ask Kim, please behave for Mo Kelly, if you would. And Tony, more to the point, please behave for Mo. A lot of love for you in the. Tony says no. All right.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. And Kim says no. All right. Well, then you'll be treated in the same way that I'm treated. Appreciate you, my friend, and we'll be in touch. The great Mo Kelly, everyone. Thanks, Mo. We're not done with politics, of course, because
The Mark Thompson Show.
John Rothmann coming up bottom of the hour. Another vacation for Mark. When was my last vacation? I haven't taken any vacation.
You're always on vacation.
I'm never on vacation. Tell you what. How dare you people? My God.
Mo just mentioned No Kings, and I thought it was really interesting that in every victory speech I watched last night, there was some reference to this is a mandate against Trump. And the woman, her name is Mikie. Is it Mikie? Yeah.
Mikie Sherrill. Yeah.
She won in New Jersey. She even said, "We have no kings in America." She came out and just said it. She referenced no kings. I mean, it's blatant everywhere you look. This is against Trump.
Well, one of the things we were talking about the midterms, and Mo was saying it'll be interesting to see whether you can continue to have this kind of momentum and energy going into the midterms.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that Trump does is he produces a lot of energy on the other side, and that tends to produce energy throughout, meaning he does the superficial on one level, the symbolic, and the reckless, meaning he trashes the East Wing, he completely demolishes it, and he says he's going to build a ballroom for $200 million. Then before you know it, it's $250, $300, $350 million, and it's clearly a grift. It's a money grab, and it's all being done to the people's house. And as I say, it's both symbolic and it's also substantive. That's one thing he does. He pursues this policy of extrajudicial killings, blowing away all of these boats off Venezuela, many of them fishermen, unclear if they really had any connection to narcotics. I mean, all of them. Maybe there were some that did, but there were clearly some that didn't. Saber rattling when it comes to Mexico, Canada, getting into these tariff confrontations, the wanton, chaotic way in which these tariffs have been imposed on our traditional trading partners. I mean, everything from, again, Canada and Mexico to South America, bailing out Argentina, but not having enough money for SNAP and not able to keep the government open. So these things they're going to continue. These things are all going to continue. We might actually get into a hot war. I think Trump is an impulsive leader, clearly, who doesn't have a plan. His plan is to enrich himself and his family as quickly as he can, and everything he does is transactional, and all those breadcrumbs lead back to Trump enriching himself. So every transaction has to have that associated with it. Look at the way he sold pardons.
It's a pretty good plan, Mark.
I mean,
Enrich
the
yourself.
pardoning of the Binance head, who was convicted and admitted to creating a money laundering scheme that allowed sexual predators and drug traffickers to use his platform. He was pardoned by Trump, and then Trump said, "I don't really know him. I don't know who you're talking about. I heard he was the victim of a witch hunt." Biden, all of these things will help animate. Is my point, and I've left out a bunch of stuff. It will animate voter turnout in the midterms. And so if you think that this is a litmus test on Trump, and admittedly, these are in Democratic strongholds in some places like New York, but even in New York, look at the voter turnout. Look at the way that voters were saying, enough. We want change. We feel left out. I mean, all of these things are implied in the Mamdani message. So he does have concepts of a plan, I know.
Still for healthcare, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to bring on Rothmann here in just a moment, but before I do, let me go to New Jersey and see that's the Mikie Sherrill speech. I just want to see a second or two of that, and then I'll bring on John.
I know these are tough times. I know not everyone voted for me, but I'm working for everyone. Every single one of you. When we all do better, we all do better. So tomorrow begins a new day. And at each new day in New Jersey, the sun rises over the Statue of Liberty, a daily reminder of her promise. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
In Mikie Sherrill, you had just a quick note, because I think a lot of this is being played. The GOP is really playing this. You know, this shows you how the lefties are coming up, and look at the New York thing should tell you that it's a bunch of socialists and commies, and that's really the extremism of the left. Mikie Sherrill's a mainstream Democrat. Mikie Sherrill's not. There's not a Marxist bone in her body. You know. But again, this is a race that tells you a lot. 56.2% of the vote went to her over her opponent, 43%. And he was I think he's a Jersey Assembly member, right? And
she's a former Navy helicopter pilot.
Yeah, she's one of two candidates who won who have real national security chops. You know, they don't just talk, I support the troops. They really are in there.
She's a badass. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And the other thing about the Jersey race, and then I'll bring on Rothmann, is that 40% of those who were polled, of registered voters, said that they cast their votes to, quote, oppose Trump.
Yep.
Compared to 13% who say they vote and they voted for support and in support of the President of the United States. So, again.
What do you think about this idea that people are afraid of liberal candidates or socialist candidates like Mamdani, and that Republicans are going to try now to paint all Democratic candidates in the midterm elections like Mamdani? Like, see, this is who they want. This is who the Democrats are. This is who. And so they're going to try to turn them into Mamdani copycats, is what I read in Politico.
Of course, that's the strategy. I mean, Trump is already doing it. But as I've just said, you know, Spanberger in Virginia, Sherrill in Jersey, these are mainstream Democrats. They are just not Mamdani. So you can focus on Mamdani. And Mamdani does have, and, you know, is a self-professed Democratic socialist. So he has ideas that do overlap with that kind of agenda that might be associated with, and it is associated with socialism. I mean, the kind of access to many public services, et cetera, that would be associated with socialism. But that said, that is not at all reflective of these other Democratic candidates. And across the board, you just don't see it. So again, it's all a question of branding and how much they can make that stick, because in the new America, as we're realizing, facts don't really matter. It's how much BS you can get out there on social media, on Facebook posts, on Twitter, etc. In the siloed way in which information is produced in this country and digested in this country by voters, it's true. You might, convince everybody that all the Democrats are lefties. But I have one thing to say about that. If people get frustrated enough by this economy that is being mishandled and chaotically managed by this administration, if it's clear that this administration essentially monies themselves, if you hit the corruption nail over and over and over again, you know how I feel about this. This is an openly corrupt administration. They are selling everything from pardons to participation in the ballroom, and a bunch of that money goes right into Trump pockets. And I would make those statements with a fervor and a passion over and over and over again. If people realize that they are being left out of the American economy, which is what New Yorkers realized, if you're being left out of whatever successes there might be, and you see them minting more and more billionaires, you'll vote for the Democrat, even if you buy the bullshit that the Democrat is somehow a lefty socialist Marxist. It's crazy. And as I've just given you, Spanberger and Sherrill and others who will run in the upcoming midterm, these are mainstream Democrats, nothing to do with socialism. But even if they make that stick, if people feel left out of prosperity, they will vote against that party that has left them out of prosperity. And that party that has left them out of prosperity is clearly the GOP. Now, you can say the American political system favors the wealthy, and you'd be right. The conversation we're going to have with David Sirota in hour 2 is very much about that. How the system has been infiltrated by so much money that, in a way, we're all left out of the political system. But there are degrees of left outness. And now it's getting a little chilly when you see what's happening with SNAP benefits, with healthcare costs, and when you see the party that will be associated with leaving you out in the cold, you won't vote for them again. So you could have the same phenomenon that manifested in New York. You could see it manifest again in the midterms and in the general. So that's where I see all of this as kind of informing the moment. Mark is super loud, sounds overmodulated to me.
Oh, I was just talking to Tony.
I know you were, but now I'm concerned. Tony, will I turn myself down? I do a great run like that, and now I'm overmodulated?
Why are you yelling?
We're fine.
Tony says it's okay. It's just me. Don't worry about it.
Kim, I can't believe it, Kim. You always can just be...
Kim, how are you?
You're such a buzzkill.
Super secret
Such a buzzkill,
Tony.
Kim.
I'm going to
blame you.
texting him instead of to keep my secrets from you.
Gosh.
Rev P says you sound fine.
All right. Well,
so does Penny.
I'm going to bring on Rothmann to try to save the day. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
This man is a scholar, historian, lecturer, and our former colleague at KGO Radio, the brilliant John Rothmann.
Listen, your modulation is just fine at my end.
Okay, that's great. Rothmann, make some sense of what we've just seen.
Last night was a sweep for the Democrats, and I'm not just talking about governorships, I'm talking about the lower parts of the ticket. It was a magnificent moment and proves the anger at Donald Trump. That includes, by the way, California. Take a look. I should have put money on it, but I said, and many of you heard me say this in my own podcast, that at least 60%, if not more, of California voters would vote for Prop 50, and they did. And it expresses the anger at Donald Trump. What the White House must understand is that fury. As for Mondami and the victory in New York, if they'd had a stronger candidate than Cuomo, who knows what would have happened. But I can tell you that among Jews in New York, fear, disappointment, and frustration are all mounting because the level of Jew hatred seems to be rising. How will Mondami deal with that? That's a whole other issue. But, and I want to make it clear, he now has a challenge. He made campaign commitments. People are counting on him. And if he fails, well, the progressives are going to take a real hit. So
I want to swing over to California. Of course,
Sure.
you're right. Policies promised on some level have to be policies delivered, or at least the delivery attempt has to be there in New York. Let me get to California because you mentioned it, and a big victory for Gavin Newsom, who was out in front of this Prop 50. Prop 50, again, as everyone knows, is the redrawing of districts in California to essentially squeeze out 5 additional seats to match the 5 seats squeezed out by Texas. This is all the midterm messing around that Trump demanded to try to hang on to the House of Representatives lead. Here's Gavin Newsom last night. Tony will give you a little bit of it.
Contribute their voices and their support for this initiative. We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with an extraordinary result. None of us, however, are naive. This is a pattern. This is a practice. Donald Trump's efforts to rig the midterm election continue to this day, and I'll reinforce that in just a moment. You're seeing him take action all across this country, not just in Texas. You saw what they were successful able to do in Missouri, what they did in North Carolina, what they're trying to do in Indiana, and inevitably in Florida. They are not screwing around. In June of this year, we saw 4,000 National Guard federalized in the state of California. We saw 700 active duty Marines not sent overseas, but sent to the second largest city in the United States of America to militarize our streets. We said in June this was a preview of things to come. What more evidence do you need than what happened in Washington, D.C., what's happening up in Portland, cities like Chicago? when we kicked off this campaign just 90 or so days ago in Little Tokyo in Southern California and LA at the Democracy Center, Donald Trump sent Greg Bovino. He sent his private police force that increasingly appears to have taken an oath of office to Donald Trump, not to the Constitution of the United States. He sent them to our kickoff rally to chill free expression, to chill free speech, to intimidate people from participating. Just today, in Los Angeles, Donald Trump called up the Border Patrol, sent them to Dodger Stadium, and threw a fastball at free speech. Right at
so
the head.
That's Newsom, and Newsom's right. I mean, you can criticize Newsom; he gets a lot of criticism, too slick, blah blah blah. He's in bed with the healthcare profession. I mean, all of these things. He's a traditional candidate from the standpoint of taking money from all these unholy places and with all these unholy alliances. But he's absolutely right. I mean, it is the case that California and Los Angeles specifically has sort of been on the business end of the thuggery that is Washington and that Bovino, who is nothing more than the top thug who goes to these various places of these congregate settings with all of these potential deportees and detainees to become deportees and detainees, and he arrests people, and he does it in the most flashbang way, But John, this is a significant moment, and the turnout that he referenced is significant as well. I mean, I thought he was correct about that.
So did I, and he's running for president. Last night, what you heard was a campaign speech, the opening campaign speech of his campaign for the Democratic nomination. I was asked the other day, what about Kamala Harris, who is also indicating she may run? Let me remind you that they could cut a deal. After all, to have a former vice president of the United States as Secretary of State in a Democratic administration, for many Democrats, would prevent the massive fight which otherwise would be part of this
You
process.
think Kamala Harris would agree to be Secretary of State in the Newsom administration?
Well, let me ask you, if I'd asked you whether Hillary Clinton would agree to be Secretary of State, what would you have said?
Well,
I'm saying they cut a compromise. If they run against each other, remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand.
But here's the difference between that which you've just proffered and this situation. Hillary Clinton, at that time that she made that deal, you're so right to reference it, had never been top of ticket. You know what I mean? Kamala Harris lost top of ticket.
And I'm telling you, if you want to have a future in government, and you may have to go through a competitive primary, which could deep six your chances, then becoming Secretary of State isn't a bad option.
I see. Okay, that frames it in a different way. So, John, as you look at the political landscape, you see a rising dissatisfaction with Washington, with this administration, everything from the ICE raids, which are ramped up and more aggressive. They're not popular. They don't poll well, and yet he's doubled down on them, Trump has. In fact, even spoke of it that way in the 60 Minutes interview. And then you talk about these extrajudicial killings off the coast of Venezuela. You have moved a major American hardware in there, so it looks as though there may be some kind of attack on land bases in Venezuela. It's an odd look for a guy who was pitching for the Nobel Peace Prize a month ago. As you assess this situation, the tariff conversation that's being had at SCOTUS right now, give me your assessment of the Trump brand and of MAGA world right now.
Well, I listened carefully to the Supreme Court argument this morning. It was fascinating. Trump is going to lose. I'm convinced that there are at least 4 members of the court who are in the middle who are not inclined to vote with Trump on tariffs, based on what I heard this morning. And they are suggesting they're fast-tracking this, which means we could get a decision before the end of the year. For Donald Trump, if his tariffs are knocked down, and they should be, if they are knocked down, it puts a tremendous crimp in his administration. But there's something else that nobody is talking about, and that is that the House of Representatives has been out of session now for longer than I have ever heard. And guess what? they're going to come back. And the minute they do, a new representative from Arizona will be sworn in. And that will give the Democrats and some Republicans, some believe as many as 30 Republicans in the end, vote for a discharge resolution on the Epstein files. Now, we have not talked about what happened to Andrew, the former prince, but let me be crystal clear. Trump is afraid of something. It has to do with Epstein. And if those files are released and they are as devastating as some people believe they will be, this whole matrix changes. So those are the two things that I'm keeping my eye on. And I think it's worth watching carefully.
Do you think the government will reopen before Thanksgiving?
I wish I knew the answer. I hope so. I listened this morning to Debbie Dingell, Congresswoman from Michigan. Her suggestion was the Democrats aren't going to give, and neither are the Republicans. However, you will note that Donald Trump, in his discussions yesterday with Republican leadership, want the filibuster suspended. Republicans in the Senate are resistant to that because they understand what could happen if that were to happen and the Democrats one day controlled the Senate.
Tony Tony put it back up there, the Donald Trump social post. Republicans terminate the filibuster. It's all in capital letters. Of course, filibuster is misspelled. It's always interesting to me, just as an aside, that Trump can be so singular about, like, remember when he was talking about Tylenol and he had a whole big thing. He goes out and it's a whole big thing about acetaminophen.
And he misspelled it.
And he couldn't say the one thing he was talking about, which was acetaminophen.
Acetaminophen, commonly known as Tylenol.
Right, but and you can, like, any one of us could have blown the pronunciation of acetaminophen. I mean, it's like a tough thing to, but you knew you were only going to be speaking to the president of the country about that one thing. You'd think you might have just run it through your head a couple times. Similarly, he's focused completely on the filibuster. So he writes, Republicans terminate the filibuster. It's misspelled. Get back to passing legislation and voter reform. President DJT. By the way, because it's misspelled, you know he actually wrote it. He wants a termination of this filibuster. Game that out. Explain the filibuster again to us, John Rothmann.
I don't think it will happen. Remember, the filibuster was designed to protect minority rights in the Senate.
What is it, John?
What is a filibuster?
Yeah.
How long can you stand up and talk?
Yeah, but explain.
Change the rules. You need 60
explain
votes.
why how the filibuster is used in blocking legislation and in the passage of legislation.
To block legislation and to create an environment where nothing can happen. And what Trump is saying is use the nuclear option. That's what he's talking about. To eliminate the filibuster, which means with 51 votes in the Senate, they would be able to move forward.
Yeah, and the nuclear option is just that 51 votes is enough to pass whatever you want to pass.
Yeah, and the Republicans are saying, we understand that, but look how that could be used against us. But see, Donald Trump doesn't have a long-term thought, and he is not a creature of Congress. He doesn't understand what would happen in the Senate.
So the answer is you don't know about the reopening of the government. You think that
nobody knows.
This is what I'm nobody knows, of course.
And of course, you understand, this has nothing to do with opening or closing the government. This has to do with the fear that the resolution about the Epstein matter will come before the House.
Right. That's what I get from you. The
speculation is there are at least 30 Republicans who, if the discharge resolution is put on the floor, will vote for it, which means that Donald Trump and his cover-up, if that's what it is, are in trouble. I mean, if I were Donald Trump and I had nothing to hide, it's like Nixon and the Watergate tapes. You have nothing to hide. What the hell?
Sure. It's clear that there's a lot to this Epstein file or Epstein series of files or Epstein information. There's clear that there's a lot here. It's not just Trump, although Trump is all over it like a bad smell. He was Epstein's best friend. I did want to double back and quickly, because you were talking about redistricting, and I thought you kind of explained how critical it is, and when they do get the House back underway, and we do have a redistricting, it's possible that, and this is the other thing that kind of speaks to what you're saying. I mean, if you were confident that you have a policy message and that your policies under MAGA and Trump are so good, then you wouldn't have to ask for, in fact, demand from the Texas legislature the redrawing of districts mid-decade like this. Now that has to be answered by California. I mean, obviously that game suggests they're very insecure about the outcome. But California's redistricting, which did pass, I mean, again, the okaying of the redistricting that did pass by overwhelming majority, that is now being challenged by the GOP. Republicans are asking a federal court to block the newly approved maps in California that were designed to flip as many as 5 House seats for Democrats.
And Donald Trump will tell you the whole thing was crooked, that it was rigged. His words, rigged. But every election which he loses is rigged. Because obviously, Mark, if the people were really being judged and voting properly, they'd all vote for Donald Trump and they'd vote for his positions. So who is really worried about this in California are the Republicans. They have no elected public official from the Republican Party in a major situation. And so there's no doubt that this is a critical matter for Trump, and he's directing his Justice Department to go after California voters. Oh, wait, Mark, I forgot to remind you. Do you remember in 2016, Trump would have carried the state of California, except there were 3 million illegal voters. And do you remember what Donald Trump did? He appointed a commission led by then Vice President Mike Pence. And do you know how often that commission met? Once. And you know what their conclusion was? There was nothing there.
Well, it's all about messaging with Trump, so that's the key.
Yeah. Except now, if the discharge resolution comes before the House, and if Congress reconvenes, I haven't said a word about
the discharge resolution. Essentially says, "Hey, you have to vote on this."
Vote on.
Yeah, I vote on
and
the
Speaker Johnson, at the behest of the White House, is preventing that from happening. You talk about corruption, and of course, the financial corruption in this administration is beyond comprehension. Never in the history of our country have we seen billions of dollars flowing to a family because of their corruption. It's just astounding. But the other aspect of corruption is what's happening now in terms of the House of Representatives. Trump has bullied the Republicans, and Speaker Johnson's reputation is on the line. What's he going to do if there's a discharge resolution? And what's he going to do if he doesn't want it to pass? He can't stop it. May I raise one other issue that is of critical importance, and that is the future of Nancy Pelosi. She has not announced what she's going to do, but we are told that shortly there will be an announcement about whether or not she's going to run for re-election. And that will be fascinating as well, because for those who live in Northern California, the battle for Nancy Pelosi's seat is critical. And by the way, what makes it critical is the primary, because whoever emerges in the primary, and you could have 2 Democrats, by the way, running against each other, it'll be one of the most expensive races in the history of the country.
You think Pelosi will push away?
I have no idea. You know, I've known Nancy very well, even before she was a member of the House. She loves what she's doing. Will she be convinced not to run? She does have opposition. Scott Wiener, who is a well-known quantity here, has raised more than $1 million to run against Nancy Pelosi. It would be a battle royal. And we still don't know whether Nancy's daughter, Christine, is planning to run for the seat as well. So, you know, there are a lot of interesting developments here in San Francisco in terms of the political battle, which most certainly will ensure a battle here in the city.
She is, it's being noted in the chat, she's 85. I'm not a big one for looking at the trips around the sun critically. I think a lot of people who are 85 are, you know, every bit as sharp as anyone who's 55. But the Dianne Feinstein moments really were instructive on some level, John. It was a bad look. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that on Capitol Hill, honestly, on both sides, from both parties.
Sure. Look at what we're facing now with Republicans, who also have senior citizens in key leadership roles. But I have to tell you, I saw Nancy recently, She's vigorous. She's powerful. She doesn't appear her age. But when you're 85, you're 85. That's all there is to it. What can you do?
Yeah. Pelosi is old, but she still has her marbles, says John Watson.
Yeah, she does. She's brilliant. And by the way, still the most prodigious fundraiser for Democrats in the House of Representatives.
Prodigious is a ding word. I will then I will leave you, John Rothmann, with the final word on this special election trends and the reopening of government. Might it happen, and what we can draw from it all the day after?
If I were a Democrat, I'd be very encouraged. I think the feeling against Trump is growing rapidly. I think his hubris is his own worst enemy. And as for the reopening of government, we'll see. It has to reopen. There's no question about it. But the most important thing will be, even if they reopen, the question will be about the discharge resolution and Epstein. So listen, there's so much to talk about, and you give me so little time that all I can say is, despite that, I urge listeners to support the Mark Thompson program.
Oh, thank you.
And when you do your next fundraiser, just let me know. I will be there.
Yeah, we haven't done a meeting. It's true. Hubris is a ding word. Also, we haven't done one in a while. So I will. Jane Fonda is 87, says CC Ryder, and has the mental capacity and energy of a 50-year-old. Love that woman. Yeah, it's true. It's not always about how old, but still, at
but
some
you're right.
point.
When you've been in Congress as long as she has, and let me tell you, Scott Wiener, member of the state Senate, has decided to run against her. He's raised $1 million. Scott Wiener is no fool. He understands that eventually there won't be a Nancy Pelosi. He wants to be in the position to take that House seat. And let me point out respectfully to people that whoever represents San Francisco in the House of Representatives in recent years, whether it was Phil Burton or Sally Burton or Nancy Pelosi, and those are the three who occupied that seat, they are a huge influence in the House of Representatives. So these are all questions. And let me just leave you with a thought. I'll be interested to see how the Democrats sort out the whole question of what happened in New York City. Mondami is really on the line now in terms of producing for his people. And I can just reiterate that among some, there is fear, disappointment, and frustration at his victory. But for others, it is the beginning of a new dawn, a new age, sort of like the Mark Thompson program.
Oh, I love how you tie it all up. That's why you're such a professional. John Rothmann, everybody. Thanks, John.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye. See you next time.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm excited about the next hour. I'll tell you why. David Sirota's coming through. I am a big believer in the truth that Sirota serves up. And if you don't know Sirota's work, he does The Lever, etc. I'll review it for you, obviously, when he arrives. But I would encourage you to listen because he's just terrific. And Belinda Waymouth, and most regulars to this show know who she is. She will do It's the Planet Stupid and take us through the world of the environment. And she's got a story about Tesla today, which is kind of weird and interesting and, might I say, positive. So, so it's going to be...
What?
I know. That's very inconsistent with the grim outlook of our show these days. I'm just very grim. I've just got a very... I don't know, a downcast view of everything. Things seems I'm lifted up by last night's results. And in Maine, voters approved a red flag law on guns. Yeah, big story actually. The 22nd state to have an extreme risk protection gun law, a red flag law is what they're called. There was a bunch of state ballot measures on the ballots across the country. Taxes, parental rights, voting rules, and gun rights. And again, red flag laws. Maine voters passed a ballot question Tuesday that will allow people to petition courts to have firearms taken away from their family members if they're deemed to pose risks to themselves or others. It was opposed, this measure, by a bipartisan group of state leaders. The governor, Democratic governor, was against these red flag laws, and top Republicans as well. They have a yellow flag law already in effect requiring law enforcement officers to take people into protective custody and to get behavioral health assessments before they can petition to confiscate firearms. So there are a bunch of sort of bureaucratic things. But when you think somebody's dangerous and they got a gun, you want to be able to throw the switch on them sooner. Anyway, yeah.
Academic researchers in California from UC Davis say that red flag laws are the single most effective tool to prevent gun violence in America.
Wow. Wow. Louise says this, Mark, how do intelligent people ignore the killings in Minnesota, Paul Pelosi's hammer attack, January 6th, the call to harm Hakeem Jeffries, etc., and come out with all the violence is on the left? You were so gracious with our pal. This is a conversation I had last night. I didn't want to get into it. It's a much different energy there on that show, and I don't really want to get into it with him. That's why, Luis knows. I mean, you can go further than that. I mean, he was suggesting that all the violence really, or more violence comes from the left. Thank you for the super chat, Luis. I really appreciate that. It was sort of offered that there's more violence on the left, more extreme violence on the left than there is on the right. And that just seems to me to completely indefensible. I don't know how you say that. And then it was kicked off by the Charlie Kirk thing. And even if you look at the Charlie Kirk guy, he's a Nick Fuentes acolyte, Nick Fuentes, the white supremacist. So, far right. So that's what kicked off the conversation. You mentioned J6, and I didn't mention the Proud Boys. I didn't mention the 3%ers. I didn't mention, or is it the 6%ers? What percent is it? But these white power groups that exist on the right are real. And then, of course, January 6th, where you had protesters, rioters beating cops within an inch of their lives. So that really, but again, I didn't get into it last night because I do want to, and so I wasn't even going to mention it on the show, but Luis, mentions it in this super chat. Anything else I need to get to before I want to shout out to Sandra Thomas with a $2 super sticker. Sandra Thomas, big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
We're a crowdfunded show. Thank you for being part of the crowd that funds. If you do, we had a couple of new supporters and a couple of, I'll tell you one thing, I remember it because it was just unreal. Incredibly generous. And she is someone who is a, what would I call her? I'd call her an OG, but HOF, Hall of Fame, is Delette. Delette is amazing because Delette, first of all, she probably has more merch than anybody else in the merch universe, although the merch has made its way around the world. We just got another, I always send these to you. I don't know if you have it handy, but the merch makes its way across Asia, etc. But Delette just upped her, I can't find it here, but I remember it, so I'll just tell you. She upped her support of the show to $100 a month.
That's really generous.
It's extraordinary, yeah.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
I am going to cry. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Delette. Really, really cool. I am sent a ping every time an angel gets its wings. I get a ping that somebody has joined on Patreon or they've upped their membership. And she just went from $40 a month to $100 a month, Delette. She's just wonderful. She will have a statue on Thompson Terrace in the metaverse. Frank became a $5 member on Patreon. What's up, Frank? And Frank, big shout out to you. If you want to become a Patreon or PayPal supporter, we certainly could use your support. This is the only way, really, we stay on the air. Patreon and PayPal can be reached under all our videos, and you can go to themarkthompsonshow.com if you're listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, etc. themarkthompsonshow.com, and then there are click-throughs to Patreon and PayPal. And that's how you can be a supporter of this show on a regular basis. Our merch is under YouTube. Courtney just put in some new long-sleeve tees with some of the same messaging. She is overwhelmed, Courtney is, but she still had time to add the long-sleeve tees for the winter. Again, that's all at getmarkmerch.com. That's the Born to Peacefully Protest. Is that it? Because I think I have this too on my, yeah. And I have the matching mug. I have Born to Peacefully Protest on the matching mug that I'm.
Nice.
So anyway, that's a little bit of the window, but more than anything, I wanted to just recognize those new Patreon members and even those who are already on Patreon and PayPal who are upping their support. And I have one last thing in the same vein. I got a check, old school check, to the show. Did I mention this the other day? I meant to mention it.
I think you did.
Oh,
That's
I did
okay.
mention it. Sorry.
It's still nice. It's still nice.
Yeah. Anyway, if you thank you for the $90 check. Barbara is who it was. And Barbara, you know who you are. Thank you for the check. And big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
$90 is really helpful. On a side note, Mark, I love the hair today. The color, the style looks great. I got the hair cut and colored.
For your big trip?
I'm going to a wedding. So yeah, I've got I'm trying to, I was reloading for the big wedding. But I'm glad that it passes. I'm going to have a cup of democracy this morning, says Rhonda. Yeah. It was a good night for Democrats. Again, they won in places they should win, but margins of victory, certainly very impressive, and maybe a bellwether, maybe a trend. I feel like I can breathe again after the election results, says Sandy in RWC, which is Redwood City. Phineas, so sorry it didn't work out for you with, I don't know what this is.
Oh, it's about his animal.
Oh, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Sad. Oh, that's really sad. Sorry about that. Mango is, oh, it's so sad. Well, you know how we feel about animals on this show. So I'm very sorry for any headwinds, physical headwinds, or loss. Richard Delamater says, if something happens, we will never forget you, Mark.
Oh.
Wow.
Who is having that conversation?
Man, that really went really dark. Gosh. I know Kim will pick the mantle right back up if something really happens to me.
No, the Mark Thompson show is nothing without Mark Thompson. Stop
Mark
it.
be like, are we there yet? Colombia, come on. Vámonos, vámonos, vamos.
Are you going to send us videos and pictures?
I will. I'll send you videos and pictures from Colombia. I really will. Donate to the Second Harvest Food Bank this season. Our fellow families are in need more than ever this year, says Ms. Organic with a $5 super chat. Again, that's the Second Harvest Food Bank. And it is tough times for food banks everywhere. So Letitia James will make a great AG of the USA. She'll get the job done. Trump for Alcatraz, says Citizen Market. And Bonita says this. Thank you, Mark. Enjoy your vacation break that you certainly deserve. Awesome podcast. Why can't we have more Bonita on this show? My audience is going, another vacation. Mark's on vacation all the time.
No.
I'm delighted by Bonita. I want more Bonita in my life. I really do. Kim, give me a headline or two before Sirota arrives, and then we'll get to David Sirota, the brilliant Sirota, who is creator of The Lever. He's got a new book out as well. So smash the like button. Kim, some headlines and commentary as we continue.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Democrats taking a little victory lap after yesterday's key elections, voters electing Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani as the next mayor of New York City, Democrat Abigail Spanberger winning the Virginia governor's race, Democrat Mikie Sherrill winning the governor's race in New Jersey, and California voters passed Prop 50, calling for the redrawing of congressional maps to favor Democrats in the state of California, directly in opposition to what they're doing in Texas.
And again, the one thing I would say is when it comes to turnout and it comes to outcome, you do have to look at this as a bit of a referendum on Trump and MAGA policies. But I would also say that on the question of socialist candidate wins, and look at all the lefties that are socialists who won with, no. Apart from Mamdani, nobody was a socialist. Those are mainstream Democrats who had a populist message and policy-centric message, but they were not and are not lefty, socialist, Marxist, anything. They're very mainstream.
Speaking of the governors of New Jersey and Virginia, the governors-elect, I should say, both are making history, and they also have some interesting things in common. Former Representative Abigail Spanberger now will serve as Virginia's first female governor when she takes office in January. Representative Mikie Sherrill will become the first Democratic female governor of New Jersey when she is sworn in. Turns out the two were roommates sharing an apartment in Washington when they served in Congress together. Spanberger is a New Jersey native, born and partially raised in Red Bank, and Sherrill was born in Alexandria, Virginia, before moving around the East Coast and then graduating from high school in Virginia. So they kind of flip-flop there. Fate of President Trump's tariffs now rests in the hands of the Supreme Court. The justices heard a suit today brought by Democratic leaders in 12 states challenging the legality of these tariffs, which Trump imposed without Congress. The hearing came on the same day that Trump is in Miami talking about his economic agenda. He is attending one of the largest global business summits in the Americas on the same day that his signature economic policy faced the biggest challenge back in D.C. So he's
no one's been worse
there
for global business than Donald Trump. Global
Oh.
Business Summit that Donald Trump is speaking on that's a laugh line. That is absolutely ironic. Global business has been, I would suggest, gut punched by these chaotic Donald Trump tariffs. So the idea that somehow he could be addressing a global business summit, please. This guy is an absolute, he's like the COVID-19 of global business.
I have to correct myself because I think I just said the first governor of New Jersey, that Sherrill is the first female governor of New Jersey. And I was thinking when I was saying it that Christine Todd Whitman also served as the female governor of New Jersey. So she is the second. So yeah.
Well, what would you like to apologize for?
I would.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
Yeah.
I think I should throw out of my bad and I'm sorry on that.
So
I stand corrected.
what is the actual, what is the correction? What is the statement that you're comfortable with now, Ms. McAllister?
I would like to say that Sherrill is the second female governor in the state of New Jersey's history.
Okay.
Mhm.
My words upset so many people.
Yeah, you were. I wasn't going to mention it until the post, the after action review. But
I
okay.
knew it as I was coming out of my mouth, and I thought that's not right. A Republican group, as Mark mentioned earlier, is challenging Prop 50, passed overwhelmingly by voters in yesterday's special election. Assemblyman David Tangipa, who until yesterday represented much of the San Joaquin Valley east to the Nevada state line, says Prop 50 did not take into account the makeup of communities and has diminished the voices of a lot of people across the state, he says. A federal lawsuit is being brought by Assemblyman Tangipa, the Dillon Law Group, 18 California voters, and the California Republican Party. So we'll see how that happens, how they do with that. A federal judge is warning that the Justice Department may be veering close to mishandling evidence in its criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey. The judge making the assertion during a hearing in the case on Wednesday. It comes as the case has already faced both public and internal concerns. During the hearing, the judge pressed the prosecutor for direct answers on exactly what evidence the Justice Department has in its possession and whether anyone on the investigative side had looked at records that should be confidential because their attorney-client communications. The judge will ultimately decide whether the department properly handled evidence collected in a leak investigation involving Comey and an associate. The FBI is urging partner agencies to adequately identify themselves as cases of people impersonating ICE officers are on the rise. Easy to do if you get to cover your face and not wear a badge, right? An October 17th bulletin obtained by the group Property of the People through a public records request listed 5 instances in which someone impersonated an ICE officer, and in some cases, the individuals committed violent crimes. The FBI bulletin says the incidents not only affect the victims and communities, but also have a broader negative consequence on law enforcement agencies as well. They're encouraging all law enforcement officers to adequately identify themselves during operations and cooperate with individuals who request further verification. There are fears that the number of deceased in the UPS plane crash could grow. Officials say so far at least 9 people are confirmed dead and nearly a dozen are hurt after this crash that happened in Louisville last night. Today, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said the cargo plane burst into flames just as it was taking off for Hawaii, holding thousands of gallons of fuel, crashing into an area nearby. So the deaths, from what I understand, affect people on the plane and on the ground as well. The investigation on this is underway.
I mean, it was such a massive fireball. You just knew that there were going to be serious casualties on the plane and around the plane and on the ground. And they, as you say, evacuated this massive area knowing that this was very possible. It was and it is an unspeakably tragic situation and scene. Tony's showing you, for those just listening, I mean, but you can find it, you can see the fireball and you can see the crash, and it looks as though, I think preliminarily, that that engine fell off the back of the plane or was at least dislodged in some way. It was a 35-year-old plane, McDonnell Douglas plane, and just really a brutal outcome.
Sean Diddy Combs hopes the new year brings him a presidential pardon. Wouldn't that be nice? Merry Christmas. According to TMZ, the imprisoned rap mogul has been boasting to other inmates about an alleged pardon from Trump in 2026. Combs has been pushing for a pardon since he was convicted of sex crimes in July in New York and sentenced to serve 50 months in prison. The White House is so far denying those reports. Multiple restaurants. Oh, there's a picture of Trump and Diddy. So who knows? I mean, maybe the pardon is coming.
I mean, celebrity rules the day, celebrity and money, both of which Diddy has.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, would you be surprised if a pardon came? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
He talked about it. He said, people are asking me if I want to pardon Diddy. I haven't decided yet. Might happen. Stay tuned. I don't really do a Trump impression. I do him as a mobster.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Multiple restaurants in Philadelphia are reporting a wave of fake 1-star reviews on Google. At least 9 independently owned restaurants throughout the city reviewed or received dozens of fraudulent reviews, and at least one restaurant had a reviewer asked to be paid through WhatsApp to take down those posts. The Federal Trade Commission passed a ruling last year banning fake reviews, which allows the agency to seek civil penalties of up to $50,000 per post. This really affects people's business. The restaurant owners have reported the reviews. They say they just want to see Google put more strict measures in place for people to be able to post. I mean, you want, when you log on, to see the truth, not a bunch of fake reviews one way or the other.
Yeah, the whole world of online reviews seems to be corruptible. Mm-hmm. And Tony, you may know about this because I feel like you're a tech guy. Like, there are ways to you can bot yourself to 5 stars and bot somebody else to 1 star.
Right.
You know,
everyone does it. Yeah. You just have to filter those out. Like all the 1s and 5s, you just throw them out right away. And most people do complain, so you usually rarely see good reviews. So
that is very true. No, it's true. Yeah.
We know that Trump loves a good game of golf. And so now the Texas border city of Laredo is kind of trying to cash in on that. They're inviting President Trump, come on down and play a round of golf at the municipal course in Laredo, Texas. They say their goal is to show how it would be ruined by a proposed border wall if it goes up. One of the city councilmen says the invitation is an outside the box way to bring attention to the issue. They say they want the federal government to instead beef up security at ports of entry instead of building a wall that would cut off the golf course. Can't imagine ruining a golf course. No,
the golf he wants to turn all of America into the ninth hole. Yeah. Okay.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Yeah, he does hit it long.
Lastly, Macy's is
practice.
revealing who will be performing at this year's Thanksgiving Day parade. The singers behind Netflix's animated film K-Pop Demon Hunters will entertain the crowds, along with Broadway performers from the Buena Vista Social Club, Just in Time, and Ragtime. The celebration will include musical and dance performances by Gavin DeGraw and Foreigner, to name a few. Debbie Gibson, Lil Jon, Kool and the Gang, Darlene Love, others joining in the fun with the iconic Radio City Rockettes. So it's going to be a great Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
Well, I'm very excited. Very excited.
Watching that as Santa comes down at the end. Are we ready for that? No?
Yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to it, Kim. I really am.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
There should be a person, woman, man, camera, TV float. That would be a real good one. I actually would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But try number 2, says Richard Delamater. We will never forget you, Merc. Get it? He says, get it now? I see. Now I do get it. That he's already forgotten me because he's misspelled my name. That's
Merc.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I get it now.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Richard Delamater.
This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. It is the best coffee and truly the best tea that you will taste. It is all at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, where there are copious tasting notes. And if that isn't enough to get you over to the website, you should know that it's all organic. It benefits women-owned farms, and Cliff at Coachella Valley Coffee is the best. Please use our super secret discount code. It is MarkT, no spaces at checkout. MarkT will get you 10% off of your whole tab, whatever you buy, whether it's coffee cups or tea or whatever they've got there is what you're going to get the discount on. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Yes, copious is a dang word. It's pretty great.
Put that coffee down.
It's pretty great, I have to say. I mean, and by the way, let me just say something. If it were women-owned farms or whatever, great. But that's not enough to make me say that it's the best coffee I've ever tasted. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You know what I mean? Just because it's women-owned farms, I don't give a damn. You know, I love their direction, their moral underpinnings. I love, but mostly I love the care with which they curate their product. So that's really why I recommend it. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, and as Kim says, MarkT at checkout for 10% off.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here. A lot of people are telling me you're a liar.
That's pure speculation.
We're in better shape, but I don't think we're in wildly better shape.
I love it when you're angry.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Where are my weed smokers at?
What do you think I'm going to say to you?
Don't talk to me that way.
That was very inappropriate.
That's not fake. That's real. Seriously, what the
I love it.
It was great. I loved it.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
It's fantastic.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
The science is ridiculous.
I'm excited that you are here. We are a live show every day, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 in the East, 11 to 1 in the West, from the United States of America. Troubled as we are, we try to work it all out, or as much of it out as we can. Let me know if Sirota gets here. I'm hoping Sirota will get here. What time is he supposed to get here? A few minutes ago. Kim, of course, is not on, and yet she's speaking. Or no, she's checking.
Sorry, 12:15.
Yeah, so he's a little. That's 12:15 Pacific. So he's a little behind. We can check to see if he's coming by after I've given him a rich and wondrous introduction and tease that he was going to be here. For him not to be here, of course, means I have to do what? I have to turn on him like a rabid animal.
No,
Exactly.
don't do it.
Yes. It won't be pretty if Sirota is a no-show. The fact is, I've gone to school for Sirota. I've supported Sirota financially.
What?
I've been a long subscriber of all of his stuff.
Okay.
And now, if he's a no-show, probably there's an extraordinary circumstance that dictates why, some extenuating thing. But
who knows? I just sent him a follow-up email, so we'll see if he pops on. He's got a new book, though.
Yeah, exactly.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
His new book is sort of about the corrupt American political system under Citizens United, how that kicked open the door to corporate money, essentially enabling the buying of elections. And so that's his book, Master Plan, The Hidden Plot to Legalize Corruption in America. I haven't read it, but I do have it. I'm going to get it. I'll read it probably on my way to Colombia. But I can tell you that there is more going on, and in a way, this is a blessing, because I did want to get to this story, and it's important.
The Mark Thompson Show.
At least 2 FBI agents, I've got a lot on the FBI, involved in past investigations into President Donald Trump were told that they had been fired, only to learn later that those terminations had been reversed or put on hold. Then, the next morning, this just happened Monday, and the next morning is Tuesday, the 2 agents learned they had indeed been fired.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's back and forth for you.
Yeah. The chaotic process highlights the turmoil and uncertainty across the federal law enforcement world amid overhauls at the Justice Department and FBI that have targeted those who helped secure indictments against Trump or are viewed by the president as aligned with his political enemies. I mean, that's what really government has become, us versus them. The targeted FBI agents were tied to either special counsel Jack Smith's probe or the initial investigation into Trump that began in 2022 that was called Arctic Frost. An FBI spokesperson declined to comment on this. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia didn't want to comment either. The FBI Agents Association, which represents FBI employees, criticized the action. Meantime, Kash Patel also dismissed Stephen Palmer, a 27-year veteran of the FBI who in part oversaw the agency's use of government planes and led to a critical incident response group. Led the critical incident response group, not led to, but he was in charge of this incident response group. So he handles the use of the planes and this incident response group. Palmer's firing is because he blew the whistle, threw the flag on Kash Patel using the FBI jet to jet around to see his girlfriend. So Patel, having been busted, decided, wait a minute, and pivoted to actually firing the person responsible. This guy's been at the FBI almost 30 years. Let's take a look. There is a bit on Patel that we have for you here. Go ahead.
The FBI forced out a senior official overseeing aviation shortly after Director Kash Patel grew outraged about revelations of his publicly available jet logs indicating he'd flown to see his musician girlfriend perform, said 3 people familiar with the situation. Stephen Palmer, a 27-year veteran of the FBI, became the 3rd head of the Critical Incident Response Group, which includes FBI pilots, to be fired or removed in Patel's short regime, adding to a year filled with retributive terminations. Back with us is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. And Senator, it sounds like there's a new question for confirmation hearings for FBI directors. Will you use the plane for date night?
Yeah, he kind of teed this up for himself, old Patel did. He repeatedly, it wasn't just that once, he repeatedly attacked Chris Wray, who, by the way, had done great service to the Trump administration, providing cover for the fake Kavanaugh investigation. So he kind of has been turned on here, Chris Wray. But anyway, there's Patel attacking him over and over and over again about use of the FBI jet. So there's the hypocrisy. Then with all these Trump people, there's the entitlement. I mean, this is bling for them. They just want to eat up every executive perk they can get near. And frankly, the more they abuse it, the cooler it seems to be for them. So buzzing around the country in the FBI jet for dates with his girlfriend seems like an okay thing to them. And then what's really cheesy, I mean, the part that angers me here more than even just the waste, is that when he's caught, when he's busted doing something that stupid, instead of owning up to it, he takes it out on a 27-year FBI veteran who runs the Critical Incident Response Group, and he fires that person because his tail, the tail number on his jet was being tracked the way the tail numbers on essentially every jet are being tracked. So there was nothing that the Critical Incident Response Team leader did that was wrong. Patel just needed a fall guy. And I got to believe that in an organization like the FBI, when you start doing things like that, it starts to poison the agency against you. And more whistleblowers begin to emerge because they know the boss is not competent and not decent and was bad for the organization that they serve and love.
Yeah, it's corruption, and he's right. The FBI's got serious problems under Patel, who couldn't find the men's room at the FBI. He's utterly unqualified, except for the fact that he has great fealty to Donald Trump. That's why he got there to begin with. I'm a delighted guy because David Sirota just arrived, so I'm going to be...
The Mark Thompson Show.
I've been singing the praises of this guy all through the show because I support him. I support all of his efforts. If there's a chance to subscribe or buy or whatever, I do it. He is the chief of Lever News, Lever, levernews.com, the founder, owner, editor-in-chief of The Lever. He's also an Oscar-nominated writer and worked as Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign speechwriter. He is brilliant. The Lever, by the way, a nonpartisan, reader-supported investigative news outlet. They do great stuff. Just go onto the site, and we'll have a hot link to it under this video. You can just knock around there. His new book is Master Plan, The Hidden Plot to Legalize Corruption in America. How about it for David Sirota? Hello, sir.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm just such a huge fan. I mentioned to somebody who works on the show, I could talk to David Sirota every day on this show. You really just have that kind of window on things. So I want to start with the book because I think, in a way, what you talk about in the book and what happened last night, particularly in New York City, there is a connection when it comes to corporate corruption of our elections and corporate money versus private money. Can you speak to that, David?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we saw in the election, especially in New York City, was obviously an attempt to buy the election for Andrew Cuomo by the oligarchs of that city, and it didn't work. And I think what's not well understood is why it didn't work. I think people have been asking, how did Zoran Mamdani win that race? And was it because he's charismatic? Was it because he had a great message? Was it because he had amazing, slick social media ads and the like? All those things are definitely true. But what Zoran Mamdani had, which a lot of candidates don't have, was enough resources to run a competitive campaign And he was able to raise those resources without having to ask oligarchs for those resources. So he was able to run an anti-oligarchy campaign knowing he would have resources because specifically of New York City's clean elections system, which gives public financing to qualifying candidates to allow them to run competitive races without having to rely on donations from big donors expecting legislative favors. New York's system of public financing of elections matches small dollar donations to about 7 to 1. So for every $1 in small dollar donations a candidate raises, they get $7 in public money to run their campaign. And so if you're looking for a takeaway of how other places can get outside the system anti-oligarch candidates, anti-corruption candidates, you should be looking at whether your city or your state has a system of publicly financed elections. Because to me, this is the main way we can get more candidates who can run populist campaigns with positions that the public wants, but that perhaps the donor class and the oligarchy doesn't want.
Because the process itself, David, right, is so corrupted by money that to even get to the point where you can pull the lever for a candidate, you need to have made so many unholy arrangements along the way and fight this machine that has been baked in for decades, which is, I think, the essential point of your book.
Right. So if you are running in a place like New York and there's no public financing system, and you are running in a city where 1 in 4 people live in poverty and 1 in 24 people are millionaires, right? A truly Dickensian situation. It's a place where an anti-oligarch, populist, anti-corruption message is going to have resonance, except for the fact that if there wasn't public financing of elections, you wouldn't have enough money to make sure even enough voters knew who you were. New York had a corruption scandal, and out of the corruption scandal was created this system of publicly financed campaigns. It was a way to combat what we document in our book, the master plan. The master plan tells the story of how conservatives and oligarchs got together after Watergate to work on deregulating the campaign finance system, weakening and narrowing anti-bribery laws, because they understood that they had a democracy problem for them, that the democracy was being too responsive in their view. The government was becoming too responsive to what people wanted. And so they understood that they had to try to short circuit the election system and allow money to buy elections.
Can I skip ahead in the movie and ask you if this is, and I think you've hinted at maybe the answer, but is this an irreversible thing? It seems so ironclad. It seems like the presidential election showcases it perhaps every 4 years, but that all along the way in the American elections, even down ticket, there is just a baked-in corruption because of this big money that has now been legalized. And so like this legalized corruption has ruined America forever. Is it your point, and is it a point that this is reversible? This is not sort of where we end up forever.
This is definitely reversible. I mean, I feel more optimistic than I ever have in all the work that I've done for now 25 years, that this is really reversible for a number of reasons. One, top of mind is, I don't think anybody needs to be convinced anymore that the system is endemically corrupt, right? Where we see, the kind of cartoonish corruption that we see has brought us all beyond the idea of saying, well, things aren't that corrupt, right? We don't have to make an argument and convince people that things are endemically corrupt. So we're beyond that. The question is whether we accept it as normal or not, or whether we say this is not normal, this is not natural, and there are things we can do to limit it. I mean, I would be lying to you if I said that money, that we can achieve a situation where money has no power at all in our politics. I don't think we're going to get there. Money will always have some influence. The question is whether it should be totally dominant or not. And I think there are ways that are happening right now to make it less dominant. So we just talked about the New York mayor's race, right? A mayor's race in the global capital of finance, a place with tons of billionaires, an election that elected an anti-oligarch, anti-corruption populist because New York created a system of publicly financed campaigns that helps candidates who are outside of the oligarchy. So publicly financed campaigns is one thing that can be done. Even in the post-Citizens United era, the Supreme Court has held that up. There is a situation in Montana where leaders of both parties are aiming to put on the ballot a measure that would say, essentially, corporations are no longer considered under the law to be people, and that they cannot spend in elections. And this, again, relies on Supreme Court precedent to say that that corporations are artificial entities created by state law, something that the Supreme Court has upheld. And we are using that state power to say that corporations no longer get to buy our elections. Montana can do that. Other states can do that. There are
Montana, a red state,
a red state.
Yeah.
Exactly. There is legislation at the federal and at the state level to demand and require transparency when it comes to dark money spending. Arizona, a purple state, passed an anti-dark money initiative by 70+% of the vote. Maine recently passed a ballot measure in a case that's now going probably to the Supreme Court to regulate the amount of money that any one donor can give a super PAC. It would effectively end, if the case is successful, their ballot measure passed by 70%, it would effectively end super PACs. So I guess my point in bringing all of this up is I'm not here to tell you that money will get to a place where money plays no factor in American politics at all. I don't think we're near there. I do think we are approaching a critical mass of interest and anger where we can get to a place where we have significantly limited the amount that money plays a process. And I want to just reiterate that the master plan that we trace, this plan that was executed to deregulate our campaign finance system, limit anti-bribery laws, it was created by a group of people who had a specific set of ideas, a specific set of goals that they wanted, and they executed a plan. They did it because they understood that they were not that democracy was a threat to them, and they would in a one person, one vote democracy, they would not get the unpopular policies that they wanted. They understood that they needed to create essentially a $1 one vote system. But I guess I bring that all up to say they executed that plan, which means it was not a force of nature, which means it can be rolled back, which means it can be fought.
Wow, that's just a great message. Again, we'll have a link to the book Master Plan under this video, so you can just click through and get it. In my last minute or two with you, I want to go back to New York for a second, because there was another sense I got, which was that many New Yorkers feel as though in this very expensive city of New York that they can't participate in the economic prosperity that they see themselves surrounded by, as you suggest, with all these billionaires and millionaires, and just there's a wealthy class that's having a different experience in New York than a lot of other people who are inhabitants of New York. And so it is with our country that we see the same thing in this sort of new Gilded Age, as Trump builds a ballroom, as he has a Mar-a-Lago Roaring 20s kind of themed Halloween party. There's just a tone deafness to all of that. But there's also this juxtaposition of those who are living large in this billionaires' boys club that runs America now, while others can't participate in whatever prosperity there is in the stock market or wherever these people are getting all this money. It's harder and harder to make ends meet. So my question is, in New York, I feel like you got the pushback from that crew that felt they're not sharing the prosperity. Might you get that same pushback nationally?
I absolutely think that is the case. I think the more Donald Trump illustrates the divide between the 99.9% and the top 0.01%, the more his behavior illustrates that, the more it stresses how unfair the entire system is. And I think that creates the conditions for not a sort of step back to the old normal, but it creates the conditions for a backlash that can advance a better politics in a much faster way. I guess what I'm saying is that I think Donald Trump is potentially accelerating the amount of progress that can be made because he is so brazenly illustrating the problem every single day.
Yeah, I so agree. Click through to Master Plan, the new book from David Sirota. Again, Master Plan, the hidden plot to legalize corruption in America. I also encourage everyone to join the Lever News. It's levernews.com. I'll have a click through on that as well, David. I'm just a big fan of all your work, and I have been for many years, and I look forward to the next conversation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right. David Sirota, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, he's just a super smart guy with, I can't wait to get into that book with some really great thoughts as well. I am going to get right to Belinda. Smash that like button if you would. It's kind of an important thing in the YouTube universe.
It with your iron rod.
It's a weird fact that this little thing, the thumbs up, which costs you nothing, does have an effect on our show because we then show up in feeds we might not otherwise show up in. Also, subscribe to the show, hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there is a video drop. Generally, we drop Belinda's It's the Planet Stupid on the weekend, and a lot of people saw the last one. We dropped it on the weekend deliberately because we feel like it's a chance to have it achieve a higher profile, and that's exactly what happened. So smash it like a boss is all I'm saying.
Iron rod.
Don't be stingy with your thumbs up is all I'm saying, people. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
it is something that we do once a week on Wednesdays. We look at the planet, the environment. We do it in a segment called It's the Planet Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Our guide for It's the Planet Stupid, eco-journalist Belinda Waymouth. Hello, Belinda.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Hello. Good to have you here. I was intrigued that you were going to be talking about Tesla and one of the co-founders of Tesla, who is now involved in something that is positive, at least as I saw it.
Yeah, super positive. So JB, I think you pronounce it Strubel. So what he saw in the making of all the Teslas and the, sort of the heyday and the exciting days of it was the problem that was going to come with all those EVs, the batteries to charge those EVs. So what's the biggest problem, the biggest environmental problem that we know about rechargeable batteries? This is a quiz, Mark. Let's see how you do.
What's the biggest problem? Is
the biggest environmental problem?
Is the disposal of them. They're just filled with a bunch of stuff you don't want to have in the soil or degraded into the environment, right?
Well, yes, sort of.
No,
but
okay. Can we get? That's not wrong. Can we get another answer from somebody else in the class?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to put all that pressure on you, my one and only student.
Battery meltdown, says Steve 607. No.
Okay. Okay. Battery meltdown. Yeah. There's the life after, but it's lithium. Where do we get all the lithium? Where do we get all the precious, rare earth metals?
That's the biggest problem with batteries. Is where do we get all the lithium?
Yeah. So remember, every time I talk about renewable energy and EVs and how great they are, there'll be someone in the comments going, yeah, but what about the lithium? What about the lithium? And this is a real issue because the lithium, the working conditions for people who work in lithium mines, and often these mines are in developing countries, they are not good. And the water used to mine lithium is enormous, and the carbon emissions are enormous. So what is the biggest cheapest, most readily available, and most environmentally good way to source lithium? You don't have to answer, Mark. It's a rhetorical question. I'm going to answer.
You.
Okay,
Jesus.
No pressure. Yeah. No pressure. So what it is it's where is it? It's driving down a street right outside your door in an EV. In an EV battery, you have an unbelievable amount of lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And so rather than trash the battery, which is not what happens. You take those batteries, and this is what the Tesla co-founder, I'm just going to call him JB to make it easy. So what JB saw was, we have this incredible battery that has all these rare earth metals in it. And why would we give them up when we can recycle them, and how are we going to do this? And he actually said, like, we were a little bit ahead of our times, because they started Redwood Materials, which is recycling 90% of the lithium batteries that are being used in the US. He founded Redwood in 2017. It's in Nevada in the desert, which is a great place to take old batteries because it's so dry. They don't, they're not going to corrode. There's not moisture in the atmosphere. And the process of recycling them, and in the link that I sent, there's a great visual that shows it. So they've got this 32-acre facility, and they're using, they're creating 58% reduction in carbon emissions, and only using a quarter of the amount of water to recycle the batteries that it would take to actually mine for new lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And what they do is they get all these rechargeable batteries from all over the US. Like 90% of the lithium batteries are going to Spark in Nevada. And they sort them into, they have got from, electric toothbrushes, to the EV batteries. They've got all these different batteries. They sort them into different piles. They get the plastic, the glues, and the electrolytes out of them, and then they're down to the metals. So you take out the regular metals, the steel and the ones that we know about. But the ones that we really care about are the lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And they're able to separate those out, and annually they are getting enough of those to make 300,000 new EV batteries, which is huge. So there you can see, the sorting. So you've got this massive sorting before they go into the actual process of it. And they do have to get melted down in ovens, which is not great for the plastic. That does create very noxious air pollution, but they do use big air filters. In China actually has 50 of these incredible EV.
Of course they do.
Yeah. More than 50. China actually right now they're already producing from their recycled batteries. They're producing 10% of the lithium that they need and 20% of their nickel and cobalt. They're saying by 2040, they won't have to do any mining or rely on any mined lithium. It will all come from within.
That's brilliant.
And within their recycling. And actually, the forecast for globally is that at the rate that we're going with these recycling centers, by 2042, a third of the batteries that are being created will come from recycled components, particularly the rare earth metals. And I know you guys have heard me say this before. The thing about metals is they're very recyclable. Aluminium, of all the aluminium that we have mined in the world, 76% of it is still in use because it's circular. With metals, it's circular. And this is what we're going for. It was like when we talked about those new solar panels that they're coming out with, that they have that thin layer of film put on them, which is going to make them be able to absorb 33 to 37 to maybe 43% of the spectrum of solar radiation that, comes down, as opposed to right now we're at 23%, just the blue and the ultraviolet light. And that those new solar panels, photovoltaic solar panels that are being manufactured and worked on so, energetically right now, because people know this is, the way we want to go. The people who are developing those want those to be 100% recyclable too. And this is the thing with the EV batteries. So what they're saying or what they're doing in Redwood, which is also cool, so kudos to JB, is, when you have a battery, it will stop being useful in an electric car because it won't have enough charge to be able to power acceleration, but it will still have battery potential. So rather than saying, okay, we're going to recycle it now, run it to the very, very end of its life. That's the way to be the most sustainable. So they have this microgrid out in the Redwood Materials site in Nevada. And they're using, it's almost 800 old EV batteries. They are hooked up to solar panels, and the electricity that they can hold and then trickle out after sunset is powering a very small AI data center there.
Wow,
So
that's very cool.
yeah,
Wow.
he's really showing like this is what you can do with a battery. Like rather than go, oh, it's terrible, we have to, recycle it and it's got all these waste products. He's actually saying, no, let's really use this innovation to the very end of its life, and then let's take what's in it, the goodies that are in it. And right now, what happens with the lithium, cobalt, and nickel that they are getting after the recycling process, it's not at cathode quality. So it gets sent to battery manufacturing plants in Asia. They get it up to the cathode quality, and then they make the new batteries. But what the aim is to do that here in country. And this is a thing I've talked about before, like how we get truly sustainable in the world is we make the things circular, the manufacture, the use, the recycle back into the manufacture, the use, the recycle. And we do it on, on our own, patch of the planet. We're not exporting it to someone else to do it. We're doing it here. And then you have something that's way more sustainable. And then also battery manufacturers who are taking a beating right now because all the Biden era, tax breaks and things, they've all been revealed. But keep it in-house, keep it here on U.S. soil so that the batteries that we use here as Americans are being manufactured here, not imported from other countries. So I think it's a real
it's
eco-win.
fascinating and really educational. I mean, I didn't know all of this that you've just described, and even the way that they're trying to squeeze the last little bit out of these batteries to power that small AI station. Wow, that's really something.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting, and there's a graphic of it in the link that I sent Tony, if you can find it. It shows that right now at Redwood, 75% of the material that they're actually recycling has come to them as scraps of the EV battery manufacturing floor. They actually leave 10% of these precious materials as scrap on the floor.
They just sweep it up.
Yeah, so that's like kind of duh. So right now, only a quarter of the lithium, I'm going to keep saying them like the trifecta, the lithium, cobalt, and nickel. Only a quarter is coming from EV batteries, but they want, please give us more batteries because we want the majority of it to come from that, and obviously there is going to be scrap and that needs to be recycled too. But it's, we need to go for the circular model. We have to go for it. We live on one planet, one precious planet that only has so many resources, and we need to,
it's a sustainability cycle, of course. Yeah, it's really great. What's wrong with Randy? Always has some. He seems to know this territory a bit well.
Randy,
what's wrong with importing EV batteries if other countries can manufacture for less money and maintain the same environmental standards?
Well, here's the thing about environmental standards. So what's happening in Asia, where they recycle an EV battery, they go for everything. They go for the plastics, the electrolytes, the glue. They take apart the actual sort of the entire apparatus, and it uses a lot of water and it creates a lot of wastewater and pollutants. And the fact is, it's also, we don't want cargo ships crossing the Atlantic and the Pacific ad nauseum, having collisions with our right whales. We want to protect our whales, and we also we get carbon emissions from that. So if we can do it in-house, if we can keep it in-house, I don't know why I'm using my hands so much, but I'm hoping that they're getting telling half the story.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It just makes sense to better do it here. And costs would come down if we did it more comprehensively, if the whole thing was happening, on U.S. soil or for Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point too about, or imply a good point when you talk about some of these specifics that we don't factor in. It seems as though sustainability has to do with a lot of other things, sort of downstream from the recycling. It's just not just the recycling. It's what goes into the recycling. It's energy used, it's water used, it's transportation, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, there's more to that equation. There are many more variables than may meet the eye. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I think also is if you're doing it, in your own backyard and you can see what's happening with wastewater, then you'll get more, innovative about it. Like, we don't want that amount of wastewater. How do we deal with it? How do we minimize that? I just think, I think, Randy, the thing is, it's really about being right-sized on a finite planet. We treat this planet like it's an infinite planet, but it's not. It's a finite planet. And I think if we deal with these things in-house, that message gets sent home very quickly. Like, this is a finite planet and we have to treat it with the respect that it deserves. And globalization has sort of been great because it has lifted so many, billions really out of poverty. So that has been great. But I think we need to have more ecologically sound business practices because we are hurting planet Earth.
Hear, hear. You can find Belinda Waymouth across social media. Waymouth is Waymouth here on Wednesdays. Belinda, thank you for visiting. Always love our time.
Yeah.
And you'll be here next week. Mo Kelly will be sitting here or standing here, and we'll be hosting the show. It should, actually be something of an upgrade. So anyway, have a great week.
I will miss you, Mark. I will miss you.
And I will be watching. So,
okay.
Belinda Waymouth, everybody.
Bye-bye,
Belinda. It's the planet, stupid.
More.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
I'd love to stay, but I can't. Got an interview to do. We'll share that with you along the way. There's some good interviews that we're kind of preloading for the time that I'll be away. Safe travels, my friend, says Luis. Thank you, Luis. First, I can start right there and say thank you for wishing me safe travels. And more to the point, for attaching $5 to that. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Sorry. We're beggars. We're buskers. Safe travels, my friend. I know it's been tough for you, cat daddy, especially with your beloved feline family. Enjoy your vacation, but remember, no boat fishing.
Yeah, don't do it.
Wow, that is cold, man. That is cold. But I am going to miss my Charlie, who needs steroids now, and he's 18, and he's struggling. He's got that palsy thing, and oh my God, I love him so much. And I feel so responsible for him. That's the tough part. Like, I feel I'm leaving him in the hands of somebody else who means well, but I don't know if they can, be the nurse to him that I am. Vilma Dellin says, your show would be the Mo Kelly.
Wait, what?
If anything happened to me, because everybody's saying, well, you're going to Colombia, anything could happen. Your show would be the Mo Kelly show if anything happened to you in Colombia. We will go on. I don't know if it's to be encouraged or to be discouraged by that. Yeah. Watch your 6, Mark. What does that mean, Tony? Watch your 6.
You're back. Yeah. Tony's on. Tony was muted.
Big
but
shout out.
You have to watch your back. Yeah.
Yeah, but is that like a new jargon that you kids use?
Yeah. No, it's military related. It's from the clock. Yeah.
Oh, watch your 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, I didn't even know that. Gosh.
Have you never watched a military movie? What's wrong
I don't think
with
I've ever watched a military movie.
Oh, wow.
That's not true, but obviously I didn't know that. If it wasn't in Saving Private Ryan, then I didn't know.
It probably was.
Was it in Patton? Saving Private
it's
Ryan? Longest Day?
Have you really never heard
Apocalypse
that phrase?
Now? I'll keep going.
God.
Platoon? No? Tony's got to get out of here. Let me just wrap up. I can see by the look on his face. He's like, Mark, really?
Thanks, Tony.
Just going to keep doing this? I got to get the hell out of
We
here.
just can't believe you haven't heard that before.
Watch your 6, Mark. Thank you, Cats and Jam. I apologize to you for not knowing it right off the bat.
I think you do owe everyone an apology.
You'll always get
My bad. I'm sorry.
You'll always get the truth from me. I'm not going to pretend I know it if I don't. That's about the best I can do. I don't know what is going on in Colombia and Venezuela, but it's not normal. Yeah, it's true. I wish it weren't happening now, but I am going. Thank you to the entire Mark Thompson Show crew. Grateful for your work, says Cindy G. New York City checking in. Cindy, thank you.
Big shout out
to you and all the New Yorkers. What a night, what a day, and what a day after. Lucy McAllister says, thank you, Mark, Kim, Tony, Mo, John, and Belinda.
Oh,
a
thanks,
$20 super chat. My favorite McAllister.
shout out.
To wrap my arms around you. You are just so great. West 3 will enjoy the Kim and Friends show while you are gone. Yeah, I think it is going to be great. Thank you, Wes, for the $5 super chat. It will be great. Get some new blood in here. You'll like it. I really think you'll like it. Hi, David Sirota. Good morning. Welcome to the show, says Dan. Really, really cool. Thank you, Mark, Kim, and Tony. Safe travels. And bye, friends, says Nancy V. Oh, that's really cool. I got to go catch a plane. We'll do a quick interview, and then I got to go catch a plane. So that means that plane will probably leave sometime tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Have a good time. Leave us a video. Send us messages.
I will.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to,
Be careful.
seeing the show continue. Actually elevated to a new level under the auspices and tutelage and care of the great Mo Kelly. Tony, thank you for working us into your schedule of 15 jobs.
Thanks, Tony.
I appreciate that. Kim, you are wonderful and awesome.
Kim, how are you?
And to our audience, thank you for being here. Mo will continue. We've got great shows tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow, the great David Katz will talk about the SCOTUS oral arguments that are going on now about the tariffs. This will be huge, and that'll happen tomorrow. So now...
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Hopefully Sarah Kendzior will be here as well tomorrow.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
What can I say? Out of time. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.